Happy Wednesday, everybody. It is Amadeus, Jim. We're here. And we gave you a whole bunch of good stuff yesterday on bracket size. Today, Amadeus, we thought we would kind of have some fun delving into the games that are going to be on television tomorrow. So you got day one of the tournament. Now, when we come on, some of those games will either just be finished or finishing, and others will just be starting as we go along. So there'll be all kinds of crazy, interesting things going on tomorrow. One quick note for those who are interested: the Major League Baseball season started yesterday in Korea, and the Dodgers came from behind. Tell me if you've seen this before. To beat the Padres by a score of 4-3. So baseball season is upon us, and Shohei Ohtani showed up yesterday. It was a good outing for everyone in Dodger blue. Not so much for the Padres.
Yeah, well, that's good for the Dodgers. I mean, they better be getting off to a hot start with all the moves they made. But yeah, I believe they're the only game until the
Oh yeah,
27th.
no,
Correct? 'Cause they got
nobody else is playing till the end of the month.
okay. So
Um,
yeah, they're getting their little
mhm,
their little. I guess they're going to need time to travel back, so that makes sense. But
right.
yeah, it's going to be interesting. I see tomorrow or yeah, tomorrow we're going to have Musgrove and Yamamoto on the mound. So I
Hmm.
guess we're getting a little debut action from some more stars for the Dodgers here.
Right. Well, they I don't know if you remember this, but a few years ago, there were teams that I forget who the two teams were, but they went to Australia and played a series, and then mainly what happens here is the Dodgers and the Padres will play, 3 or 4 games in Korea. They'll fly back. They'll go directly back to the training camps, and then they'll break camp at the same time everybody else does. They probably won't play the first week when they get back. Um, if they unless they get back, toward the end of this week. So, but they give them time for that lag to catch up with you because that's a big, big, big lag. So we'll see how it. And I know that the first two teams that did it back in the went to Australia recently, in a few years ago, they didn't do they started out horribly. They just couldn't get on time. So we'll see how that works for the Dodgers and for those the Padres. So there you go. All righty, let's see what we got going here. Okay, gang, we got uh, tomorrow. All right, this is going to be the East region. All of the East region games will be on True TV. Now, if you don't get True TV, some of you have cable. It's on True True TV's on most cable outlets. You can stream True TV on, I would suggest, Sling. You can, it's a very reasonable service and very reasonably priced service. You could do that. You could also do YouTube TV. If you already have Max, then you're good to go because True TV is part of Max. So streaming wise, you got a few options for that. The opening game, the Dukes from Duquesne against BYU. So you have an 11-6 matchup. It's 12:40 is the tip on True. And you've got the Catholics versus the Mormons in a little bit of a religious battle between Duquesne University from Pittsburgh and BYU. So storyline there, I would think, is BYU. Well, I mean, they should. Duquesne fought their way through the tournament all the way to get the conference tournament to get the automatic bid. BYU, they've been they've been a team that is very streaky, but I'm not. I don't think they're going to go far in this tournament because the next team will. We'll get to that game in a moment, but it's not one of these teams isn't going to go far. Whoever wins this game, the Duquesne and BYU. Any thoughts on BYU Duquesne?
Yeah, I would agree with that. BYU is this has been a very streaky team. That's a good way to put
Okay.
it here. They finished the season hot. You know, they had that road win against the banged up Kansas
Mm-hmm.
team, and they won a ton of games to finish that stretch in the final part of the
Mm-hmm.
season. But then they got to the conference tournament and they fizzled out. So you know, they won their first game and then they got
Mm-hmm.
destroyed by Texas Tech in that next
Mm-hmm.
one. I was on BYU in that game against Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, I expect them to beat Duquesne. You know, Duquesne was one of
Mm-hmm.
those teams we talked about yesterday being a bid thief. They really
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be there at all. Obviously, got there with the conference tournament win. But I think, I think BYU wins this game. Depending on who they're going to play in the next round, I think
Right.
they're not going to have a great chance to go more than 2 rounds.
Here's why I say they're not going any further. It's Morehead State, the 14 seed, against Illinois, and Illinois got whacked, in the Big Ten conference tournament. I don't expect that to happen to Morehead State. For Morehead State to do the upset. Normally, when teams like as good as Illinois is lose early in the tournament, in the conference tournament, they're hell bent on not losing in the first round of the NCAA tournament. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to move on to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I mentioned it yesterday. I got Morehead State taken out uh, Illinois in the first round, and
Hmm.
frankly, I wouldn't surprise me if they took out BYU in the second round either.
Right.
So I'm high on this Morehead State team
Good.
myself.
Good.
Illinois is another team where you know they yes they were very good this year, but there were certain spots they weren't great. They struggled to beat Purdue, and Purdue, they're not invincible. So
Hmm.
I like Moorhead State. I just think Moorhead has the
Well,
ability that they can get by them here.
what they can do is Morehead can shoot. I mean, they can score, and they're fast, and they're very athletic. And Illinois is good, but they're not as fast. So I see your point on Morehead State. Morehead State could be the FAU of this year.
Yeah, I definitely think that it all has to do with the shooting, right? They can
Right.
definitely
It's got to
get
land.
hot here,
Yeah.
and they can beat Illinois no problem. And as you said, it's I think these Big Ten teams that play that half court style basketball
Mhm.
we've talked about, they're going to
Yeah.
struggle against some of these, more so team chemistry teams that where they move the ball a lot. They're fast, as you put it as well, just up and down the court. So I think some of these Big Ten teams are going to struggle against the
Well,
higher
it
pace
all
teams.
your point is great because it's all Morehead State shoots when they cross the center line, right? So when they cross half court, they're anywhere from the arc in. They're launching it. So if they get the threes to fall, they can rain threes all day long. That's what they like to do, and if you get a little lackadaisical, they'll sprint right past you and go to the basket and get the easy two. So it'll be interesting, but that's going to be on True TV. Illinois versus Morehead State, 3:10 is your tip on True TV East Regional. Next, 15 seeded South Dakota State versus number 2, the Shockers from Iowa State University. That's a 7:30 tip on True TV.
Yeah, Iowa State's a team where I think they could win the entire tournament.
Yeah,
So
they're a
I
sleeper.
definitely don't see an upset here. I think if anything, they'll be the team to kick UConn out if UConn doesn't make it to the Final
Mhm.
Four. So that's I think Iowa State's a team to watch for sure.
It's funny because you don't look at a 2 seed and mainly say it's a sleeper. But I mean, I've spoken to tons of people who going, "Tell me again why Iowa State is good." I said, "You should have just watched them. They had a very good identity. It's hard to believe they flew under the radar in the Big 12, but they did. And so yeah, I mean they're a fun little team to watch. I mean, no question about that. Number 10 Drake and they face 7 seed Washington State. True TV. That's a 10:05 tip for that game. And
Yeah,
Washington
another
State was a surprise team too.
Yeah, this is another interesting one, just because Washington State it was a team we thought flew under the radar all year,
Hmm.
and then they had that big win, that big road win against Arizona, and then
Hmm.
they didn't finish the season great. They
Right.
fizzled out in the Pac-12 tournament there as well.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, Drake, they were kind of second fiddle in their conference the entire
Right.
season. Indiana State was the better team in that conference.
Hmm.
They were, top 30 team net ranking according to
Right.
the NCAA too, but didn't make it in the tournament. So Indiana State was top 30 team in the
Hmm.
country. They played they played they dominated that conference the whole time. But sure enough, Drake, they played second fiddle all year. Got hot in the conference tournament.
Hmm.
Ended up beating Indiana State in the final in a game that was not as close as the final score would tell you.
Hmm.
And they got experience from last year. Like I said, they went on a
Hmm.
bit of a run. They didn't go too deep. They were stopped by Miami last year, but that was a
Hmm.
game where they dominated for 35 minutes, and then just in the last 5 minutes, that pressure defense by Miami really got to them. But
Right.
obviously, they don't have that same team. Uh,
Hmm.
Losing, I think it was Isaiah Wong was a big loss
Hmm.
for Miami there. But yeah, Drake has the experience on their side to help them here as well. So it definitely wouldn't shock me to see the number
Right.
10 move through here.
Well, and basically of the first 14, this was the first four packet of games we've talked about. On paper, I would think that the Drake Washington State game is also probably the closest.
Yeah, it's about a 1.5 point spread for
Right.
Drake. So that would be the
So
closest
so
like we
Drake is
talked
the
about.
favorite in the 10 seed.
Yeah.
Okay. So there you go,
Yeah,
NCAA
that's why
season game.
you also got to be careful here, right? With
Hmm.
there's when you're talking about upsets in the tournament,
Yeah.
there's two kinds of upsets. There's
Right.
Vegas upsets,
Right.
teams that weren't favored to win the game who
Right.
win the game, and then there's tournament upsets, which is a lower seed. But like I said, Drake being the lower seed is the favored team, so by that standard, if Drake wins, it's a tournament upset because you have the lower seed winning. But is it really an upset because Vegas kind of predicted it was going to happen by the line?
You paid it if you paid attention. Yeah. That's a good point about that because seeding is really is incredibly subjective, and especially the way these guys do it. I mean,
We got
it's
Clemson as
like,
a 6 seed, so that tells you
yeah,
everything
I
you
mean,
need to know.
yeah, Clemson's a 6 seed, like I'm the next president of the United States. Yeah, it's not going to happen. It's they just, you know, they literally the conference and the name. If Drake were in the Pac-12, um, playing Washington State during the season, um, they probably if they played 5 times, they'd probably beat them 3 out of 5 times. But now they're in the tournament and they're seated higher. So yeah, you're absolutely right. All right, Oakland, 14 seed. We're now moving to South Regional. This is a game 7:10 on CBS, and which is why the number 3 team in this seeding in the South region is Kentucky. They got a blue blood right off the top, and it's Kentucky and it's Oakland, and interesting. It'll be an interesting matchup because they don't play the same style, Kentucky and Oakland, but I don't think Oakland's gonna roll over in this game. I think they'll give them a game. I don't know if they'll be able to beat them, but they'll give them a game.
Oh, they definitely will, and I like the chances for an Oakland
Mhm.
upset here, just because Kentucky, we've seen it all year how streaky they can be when they're not
Right.
playing. They're bad.
Mm.
But when they're playing, they're very good. They can beat some of the best teams in the country on the road, but can't beat a lesser team at home. So just they're like the Sacramento Kings of the college scene this year.
Their problem to me in getting deep into the tournament is they don't have the guard play.
Yeah.
They don't have a real point guard. They've got 2 shooting guards. It doesn't make for, basically it's like, okay, wait, throw it to me. Okay, I'll shoot it. Okay, throw it to me. Look at the assists in a Kentucky game. You're not going to see a lot of them.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of passing is done by the Kentucky team. This one on paper, which is of course not where they're playing, but the South region, the 11 seed NC State, the people who won the ACC tournament, is the 11 seed taking on a Texas Tech team from the Big 12, who is a 6 seed. That game is a 9:40 tip on CBS in the South region. And this is kind of like, to me, like Drake in Washington. NC State and Texas Tech are, they could easily be the same seed.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. This is one again. We talked about this yesterday with the bid thieves. Like
Hmm.
NC State, if they don't win the ACC tournament, they're not there. They don't
Right.
belong. They didn't have the record during the
The
regular
credentials to get
season.
them in, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have quality wins,
Hmm.
and you got to remember how they won the tournament. It wasn't just like they got plopped in midway through and won the tournament. No, they
Right.
started. They were 10th in the ACC. They started on the very first day, and they
Hmm.
played 5 straight days, and they won all 5 straight days. And
Right.
you know that's easier to do when you're in that situation with the
Right.
momentum and in the constant movement.
Hmm.
Once you take that day off to celebrate,
Hmm.
party, then that's when the trouble starts. Because then now you got to
Hmm.
start thinking, oh well, we got to get on the plane again, and
Right.
then right, you get your one day off, and then it's back to the grind. But by then it feels like a chore because you're just
Hmm.
coming off this high of winning the conference tournament, something you weren't expected to do either. And on top of that, you beat like your rival in North Carolina. So there's a lot of things there to disseminate. And
To
when you
sort
get
out.
down, yeah, and when you get down to that, you really see like how are they going to respond now this week? They had to get on the plane, then they had to go practice again. They're still coming off that high. It was the last game they played.
Hmm.
How are they going to play? How are they going to respond in this game? I'm sure the energy will be there because it's the tournament, but is it going to be the same effort as when they were getting hot in that ACC tournament? And for that reason, I think Texas Tech probably takes them out here.
Hmm. Well, how leg weary is. I mean, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you how to tell. In the first half of the game, first, let's say, I expect first 8 or 10 minutes they'll be fine. They may even be okay for the first half, but when you start seeing them missing, what would be reasonable jump shots because they're leg weary, that's when they start clanging the iron. That's a sure sign that they're not, you know, that their legs are tired and they can't do it. And Texas Tech, as you say, could be the beneficiary of the fact that North Carolina State played 5 games in 5 days.
Yeah,
So,
and it's usually um, we saw Texas Tech do it when they played BYU. BYU played the day before,
hmm,
and I don't think Texas Tech did, and Texas Tech ended up blowing them out by 20 points the
right,
entire game, right? And
yes,
as you mentioned there, the fatigue usually settles in the second half. You won't
hmm,
see it in the first half. You could even get deceived because NC State might come out strong, but if they come out strong and
hmm,
put a ton of effort in the first half just to try and keep that intensity and energy high, when you go into the break at halftime, it could hit you even harder then. So it's definitely the second half is going to be very key. Even if NC State's leading at halftime, I wouldn't be so quick to pencil them into the next round.
right. And the thing is, you've got, and you mentioned this at the top of the show, you've got the adrenaline. You're in the tournament. You're jacked up. You've been introduced. You're in the building, and everything is great. And then you get that halftime situation where suddenly everything stops. You have to go off the court and into your dressing room, and suddenly, you're a little tired and a little bit, leg weary, and things that should be easy to do aren't as easy to do.
And it can hit you like a wall,
Yeah,
just straight. And
like,
then you come out and you do nothing in the second half. So this
it's
is going
like
to be an interesting
don't
game to
don't
watch.
show up, right? All right, let's go to the Midwest. That's Akron, 14 seed, and Creighton. It's a 1:30 game tomorrow on TNT. The
Yeah,
Zips.
I don't see Akron. I mean, I know they
Uh-uh.
were good, but I don't see Akron really getting by Creighton here. Creighton's a 12.5 point favorite, but yeah, Creighton should win the game.
Yeah. Um, Creighton, I think, was kind of undervalued in this year from a standpoint of how they were constantly in every game they played. I mean, they didn't get blown out of any game, and they played really well. So I think the athleticism of Creighton, plus the fact that they have a much deeper rotation of a bench, they play like 9 or 10 guys on that team. Akron can't play that kind of game. So, uh, I agree with you. So the storyline there is Creighton likely, you know, toying with them for a while, but goodbye Akron toward the end. Oregon, who won the Pac-12 conference championship, takes on a schizophrenic South Carolina team at 4 p.m. on TNT.
Yeah, so this is another one of those pick'ems. You got
Right.
South Carolina as the 1 point favorite here, and really, I truly believe that this is a game that could go either way. Again,
Yeah.
Oregon's a team that they won their Pac-12
Hmm.
tournament. You have to keep in mind that are they going to have some kind of down here, right? Whereas South
Hmm.
Carolina they didn't go deep in their tournament and they had some rest. They were also one of the best teams in the SEC just during the regular season, and somehow they got screwed in the seeding for the tournament.
Hmm.
They finished. They were leading the entire time, basically the entire season, and they ended up finishing second with their conference record,
Hmm.
but somehow got the fifth seed in the SEC tournament. So
Hmm.
that probably pissed them off. I would think they would still have a bit of a chip on their shoulder. But the thing with South Carolina is they're like they're like Kentucky in streakiness, but
Hmm.
Kentucky's more of a streaky team, whereas
Hmm.
South Carolina, they won't lose as many games in a row, it feels like,
Right.
but when they lose, they get the doors blown off. It's like
Right.
they've had a few games this year when they played Auburn or
Right.
Alabama, they just lost by 40 points on the
They didn't
road.
show up.
And
Yeah.
it's the weirdest thing because you look at them, you're like, oh, okay, you went 13-5 in the conference, but the 5 games you lost were by like 40 points. And then, yeah, you were blowing teams out at home. So this is why I say this is truly a game that could go either way for me. And from a betting standpoint, probably won't be a game I'll be on. But
Right. No. No.
yeah,
No wasting time.
someone's going to
Or
get through in the bracket here.
right. Oregon. Um, Oregon was expected, and this is in the preseason, to do pretty well. Then they got 3 guys hurt right off the bat before they even started the season, and so everybody thought, well, okay, fine. Depth is going to be an issue with them. Uh, they had some freshmen step in, and as the season went on, Oregon got better. Um, but I think that Oregon's one of those teams that's probably, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but they're probably stunned that they're there. It's like we're in the NCAA tournament. We had no idea this was going to happen. Those are the kind of teams that can be dangerous because they never expected it to be this way, right? They they were looking up at Arizona and all the other teams and hoping that hoping you just hope they do well. But this Oregon team, it's just they're playing with house money. They don't, from a standpoint of do I think they'll beat South Carolina? I don't know. It could go either way, as you say. I agree with that. But they're dangerous because there was no expectation they were going to be there.
Yeah, and that's another thing to keep in mind. That and the fact that you mentioned those 3 players, that's
Hmm.
a big part of why they made that run in the Pac-12 tournament and won it. They've
Hmm.
been getting those players back over the last
Right.
few weeks, and then now they're healthy and they're playing like the team that they were expected to be at the
Right.
beginning of the season. We haven't seen too much of this team
No.
because the team we've seen all year was missing those 3 players, but I 100% agree with you. They could be a dangerous team and go on a run here just because
Mhm.
other teams that are playing with them, how do you prepare for a team where you don't have
You
a
have no
ton of tape
film on them. Yeah,
on their three players, really? So
right,
yeah, and that three players, that's more than half the starting lineup that's
right,
out there. So it's a huge factor, and especially like just with the defending wise, right? How are teams going to prepare for something you don't have a ton of tape on, you haven't
right.
seen too often, really? So I totally agree. Oregon, it wouldn't shock me if Oregon wins this game, and it wouldn't shock me if they go on a bit of a run after.
Yeah. Colorado State, one of our teams from the big Mountain West out there, is a 10 seed. They're taking on Texas. Colorado State won last night to get there.
Yeah, they annihilated Virginia.
They did, which we pretty much said. Sorry, Virginia. It's a 6:50 tip on TNT tomorrow. Colorado State, Texas. I don't know. Honestly, we talked about this before. I really don't know how to even gauge Texas. I really don't. They play defense well, but I don't know. I
I don't
mean,
even know how Texas made the tournament.
yeah.
How about that
I was
one?
trying. I was trying to be. I was trying to be charitable, but Texas fans have very long memories. Um,
Look, I call it how it is, and I'm
yeah,
sorry,
no,
Texas fans, but Rodney Terry is not the answer. I've said this many times. Firing Chris Beard, just look at what he did at Ole Miss. Yeah, they're not
right.
in the tournament. They weren't great on the road, but he turned that program around, and you
Yep.
watch out for Ole Miss next year, because that's what you could have had, Texas. So I'm just saying Texas needs a coach, really is
Well,
their problem.
they, you know, they'll tell you in Austin that they have not exactly had a stellar run until they just hired their recent hire in the football side. But they haven't had a run of good things happen to them when it comes to coaching, and specifically on the basketball side. So maybe Colorado State can sneak out of that bracket with a win. In wouldn't be surprising to me, and I honestly think that attends, that Colorado was deserving of maybe a 7 or an 8, or in that. I think 10 is for Colorado State was not a fair indication of how good they are. But
Yeah,
we'll
well,
see.
Colorado State, they were a team that beat Creighton earlier this season,
Sure.
so they have quality wins under their belt. I know Texas played in the Big 12, but like I said, just it's the coaching for me with
Right.
Texas. They need a better coach, and I don't think he's going to have them prepared for this game, especially since most of the teams in the tournament have known who they're going to play now since Sunday. Texas didn't find out till last night.
They
So
had to prepare for both of
and
them.
and that's two different styles, because Virginia's a very defensive team. They only scored 47 points in the game, so that'll tell you all you need to know. But Colorado State, it's tough when you have to prepare for two possible teams, and the two
Right.
teams are different in style. So I think this is going to be a real test for Rodney Terry. Really, is what it's going to
Yeah.
be.
Good luck on that one. Don't send your dry cleaning out. Yes. Midwest region. Next up, 12 is McNeese State. They're facing Gonzaga. I know how much you love them, Gonzaga. 7:25 is the tip on TBS.
Yeah, this Gonzaga team. I mean, I don't know what to say. They were awful in the non-conference
Yeah.
games. They had this monumental win over Kentucky, the streakiest team in the SEC. Then
Right.
Gonzaga takes that momentum, goes on a run, beats St. Mary's once at the end of the season. Everybody crowned them as the best again, despite
Mm.
having the other loss to St. Mary's and the worst conference record. And then they went on to lose the conference tournament. So I think
To
I
St.
just
Mary's.
yeah,
Yes.
I think I just described their season
Right.
pretty well in a nutshell there. And I don't think this team is back. I don't think they were ever
Mhm.
here to begin with. So
Well, you can't be back if you weren't there. So yeah.
exactly, right? Look, this team has gone over the last 3 years. They've slowly lost players and to the NBA, and slowly they've
Mhm.
hemorrhaged talent. But this was the big year, because you lost your 40-year-old Drew Timmy, who was there for 9 years.
Right.
that's the thing. Is like he was a big core part of that team. I don't think
Well,
Gonzaga
how
has.
many guys in college is, Drew Timmy was a college version of Dirk Nowitzki. He was a
Pretty
six
much.
nine. He was a 6'9" point guard. I mean, that could rebound. I mean, plus Gonzaga had a pipeline. I don't know how this worked out, but Gonzaga had a pipeline to Australia and some of the Pan Asia players. They had a really good string of players coming from, to play for them that came from overseas, and that kind of dried up for some reason, or the kids went to some other schools, one of the two.
Yeah, remember Rui
Yeah,
Hachimura,
yeah,
who's on the Lakers now
yeah,
and
sure.
a pretty decent supporting piece
Mhm,
there.
yeah,
So, 100%, they used to be that big because they're on the West Coast too, right? So they
right,
were
yeah,
that team to go get players from Japan and things like that. Um,
yeah.
Now
Small
they're
private
not
school.
do yeah,
Yeah,
now they're not doing that so much. The MLB
yeah,
has, I guess, taken over the Asian market in all sports.
right, for the
Apparently,
moment,
just
yeah,
how what you play basketball, you're playing baseball now. Come here,
right,
we'll
yeah.
teach you how to
Let me
pitch.
show you. Yeah.
We got a $300 million contract for you. Just get ready to play. But
Just
yeah, no,
throw it 97 miles an hour and just get over there.
but yeah,
Uh,
just the way Gonzaga has been, the talent they've lost. I think McNeese, again, with their shooting, I think they're the
mhm,
kind of team where Gonzaga could get themselves into some trouble here.
yeah. With McNeese, just like all the others we've talked about, if they're hitting the three and they can consistently do it, they will drive Gonzaga nuts.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
but if they don't, then that could be a
Could
bad,
be a long night for them as well.
could be a very long night for McNeese State. St. Peter's taking on, they're the 15 seed taking on the number 2 seed. This again is in the Midwest region. Tennessee, that's a 9:20 tip on TNT tomorrow night. Um, yeah, Tennessee could have been a 1 seed if they won the SEC tournament, which they didn't. Um, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where I just I can't see St. Peter's beating Tennessee. I just can't.
Yeah, so Tennessee is a 21.5 point favorite here.
Woof.
And frankly, I think St. Peter's is a bit of a bid thief here. They weren't the best team in the
Right.
MAC this year. Really, it
Your
was
favorite, yeah, the
yeah,
MAC.
really it was Quinnipiac, and
Right.
they got a little robbed there at the end. But Tennessee, you have to remember. I even think they're going to cover this 21.5
Mm-hmm.
here, and this is why St. Peter's does not have a good offense.
Mm-hmm.
They're good for like 50
They're locked
points.
down.
They're
Yeah.
not hitting 60 in this game.
No.
Tennessee was that kind of team last season. They suffocated you defensively. They still have that great defensive play, but they can score this year.
Mm-hmm.
Their average has gone up. They definitely score, 70 plus points a game. I think this is a game Tennessee could put up 80. St. Peter's is going to score somewhere in the 50s. And you have to remember,
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee, not only did they not win the SEC tournament, which they were expected to win to get that number 1 seed, they got
Mm-hmm.
blown out by Mississippi State. They've been
Right.
sitting on that loss for a week now, basically. And we saw how South Florida came out, our
Mm-hmm.
boys in South Florida, when they had to sit on a bad loss.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen a few teams how they've come out after sitting on a bad loss.
It doesn't go well.
Good. I'm sorry, St. Peter's, but don't even unpack your bags.
Yeah, just drive to the airport directly from the
Drop
game.
drop the luggage off at like the bellboy and be like, just put it in the back. Our flight leaves later tonight.
Yeah. Closing out the Midwest, number 13 Samford from wonderful Alabama takes on number 4 Kansas. That's a 9:55 tip, and it will be done on TBS. And Kansas is not a 4 seed, not even close. I know they're a legacy program, but this is a team that is banged up, boys and girls, really banged up.
Yeah, so this is
What's the line on that game?
this one yesterday was in the double digits. It's down to
Really?
7.5 now because I believe they announced that McCullough is not going to play.
Yeah,
And
he's not gonna
like
play the entire
guys,
tournament.
yeah, and like I said, if McCullough and Dickinson, if they don't play, Kansas does not have the depth. And I
Mm.
think Sanford could really give them a run for their money here if they don't
This
have
might
that
be.
depth.
You remember you talked about the upset, and the Vegas upset. This
Yeah.
might be both.
Yeah, 100% here. You get the 13 seed that should look, the line reflects itself. It's come down
Hmm.
a lot
Right.
since announcing that McCullough won't play. So this is one that you gotta read that. Even Vegas is scared of Kansas. They know they're not a 4 seed.
It's funny. I mean, when you look at those lines, believe what Vegas is telling you. they they
Yeah,
definitely know what they're telling you.
here I'll give you a good example, right? So
Yeah.
let's take all the 4 seeds, for example.
Hmm.
I'm trying to find them on my screen here.
Hmm.
I only see one 4 seed for tomorrow for some reason.
Hmm.
Um, do they all play on Friday? What is this?
What the
Um,
four? Well, let me see. I thought I had a 4 seed up here a
okay,
minute.
4 seed. All right, Auburn.
Yeah.
Auburn's a 4 seed, 12
Yep.
and a half point favorite.
Okay.
Duke is a 4 seed, 12
Yeah.
point favorite. Alabama's a 4 seed, 9.5 point favorite. Kansas is a 4 seed, -7.
It might even be bet down from that.
Well, yeah, like I said, it was I think it was 9.5 yesterday. It
Mhm.
was a few points higher. It
Right.
has come down quite a bit, and
Precipitously, as the saying goes.
yeah, like I said, I got Sanford McNeese in the second round. I got two,
Hey,
double digit seeds in
it
the
could
second
happen.
round playing each
It
other.
could happen. And one of them's going to go to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I
So,
saw I saw an ESPN article today where it was like
mhm.
they're talking about how 11 seeds are the new 12 seed, I guess. But here are your 11
Okay.
seeds. Oregon, okay, that's a pick 'em with South Carolina.
Right.
NC State, they're not beating Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Wait, let's see. With the 11 seed, New Mexico over Clemson. Okay, maybe that's more so
That
Clemson's
one
not
would
a
be a
six
toss up
seed.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah, Clemson's not a 6 seed, but I
No.
guess where's the other 6 seed? Still trying to find. Anyway, you get you get the point. But
Yeah. Amazing.
yeah,
All right. The 9-8 game. Michigan State. Tom Izzo's reputation got him a 9 seed and a spot in the tournament, taking on the number 8 seed, Mississippi State. The Bulldogs and the Spartans will get together at 12:15 tomorrow on CBS. There's a kickoff game for CBS. So Michigan State and Mississippi State. There you
oh,
go. That's
by the
your
way, I
early
just
game.
found it. It was at the top. I wasn't looking at the top.
Mhm.
Duquesne's your other 11 seed. So
Okay.
yeah, 11s are the new 12s apparently.
Yeah. Not in that case. No. But yeah.
Just remember that 11s are the new 12s.
I know. I know that our buddy Lenny is listening. Lenny, do not bet on this game. Do not. I'm begging you.
Yeah,
Um,
I know
leave
him.
Sparty alone.
My guy Dan Kaiser, they're all gonna be on the Sparty.
No, no, no.
You can't fade the team. You can't fade them. I will say this: Tom
Yeah,
Izzo obviously has a very good record when it comes to
yeah.
these tournament games,
Look,
especially in the first 2 rounds.
I have great respect for Tom Izzo. I mean, I did Michigan. I did Big Ten basketball for 2 years. The game of the week couldn't have been nicer. I mean, Izzo is like Coach K. They're wonderful human beings, and they're tremendous people to work with. But you know, uh, it's this just was not a good Michigan State basketball team, and they're playing a Mississippi State team who again flew under the radar in the SEC. So you've got probably a pretty good matchup, with regard to Mississippi State and Michigan State. I assume that this is certainly isn't a double digit game. If anything, it's probably what, 5 or 6.
Michigan State is favored by a point.
So yeah. So basically, that's Izzo gets a point. They're
Izzo
giving Izzo
gets
a point.
the 1 point favorite in this game.
Yeah.
And like I said,
You can't get
Michigan
any.
State.
Yeah, you can't get any closer than that.
Yeah, they did it last year. They could easily go on a run.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't shock me. But Mississippi State, this was a team everybody was, all eyes on
Mm-hmm.
coming into the season. They had a great non-conference
Mm-hmm.
schedule. Really, they played well in those games. It was just when they got to the SEC games, they went 8-10 in the conference and
Mm-hmm.
couldn't compete with the better teams. But here they are in the tournament. 8-10 in the conference. That's something that bothers me. And Michigan State,
Yep.
bothers you because they have 19 wins this season, including the conference tournament wins.
Yep.
So, it's got one team under 20 and another one with a losing conference record. So, wouldn't be making the tournament in our 128 model. Let's just say that.
Which we are submitting to the NCAA, after this tournament is over.
Yeah.
We're giving them some reason to, and they can get more TV money out of it. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
right. More cash.
People are declining the NIT now, so you might as well just give them a garbage field. What's even the point?
Ugh.
Let IUPUI play in the NIT. They'll like that.
They'll cash a check. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Let's give some of the smaller schools some chance,
Some love. Come on.
some exposure here. Yeah.
All right, here's a unique one, a bit of an interesting one. 15. This is again the West region. This is the 15th seed Long Beach State, and I might just root for Long Beach State because I love the campus. It's a lovely campus out there, right off the Pacific Ocean. If you're looking for a school to go to, and their arena is a cool place to go because it's across the little inlet there from the Queen Mary. So nice place to go to watch the game. And the number 2 seed they're playing has spit the bit a lot. Arizona. Arizona could be overrated as a 2 seed.
Yeah, I didn't think they deserved the 1 seed for most of the season with some of their games. I think 2 could be generous for sure. I mean, if we're going by your logic with the Oregon game, Long Beach State could be a dangerous team here just because they weren't expecting to be here. They're just stunned that they even made it. Hell, they even fired their head coach before the tournament.
And they brought him back. It's like, hey, wait a minute, don't clean out anything.
Wait a minute, we need you another week, just one more week, please.
He's a 1099 employee now. No, my liking of Long Beach State has nothing to do with the quality of their basketball play. It more has the fact that I just happen to enjoy the campus. And here's my theory of the case on Arizona, and I could be 100% wrong, which has happened to me many times before, and that is that the pack was so down this year, and still Arizona had trouble with teams, and that's what concerns me about how good is Arizona. I mean, are they good enough to make the Final Four? Who knows? I'm just suspect of them. That's all I'm saying. Is that I didn't think they deserved a 1. A 2. I have no idea whether they're a 2. They may be a 3. But at the end of the day, the quality of the play in the tournament. In the Pac-12 this year just wasn't up to normal Pac-12 standards, and so they got a lot of wins in the conference, but are they really good enough to go deep into this tournament? I really just don't know.
Yeah, and that's why I love your logic here with the Oregon game, just because I know the NCAA doesn't like to use logic, but we like to use logic.
We do our best again.
You have a point with they're not expected to be here. They don't really play with pressure.
Right.
like it's
No, but
one thing
if we
that
lose, everybody expects us to lose.
yeah, and it's one thing where like you were hoping all year, you were expected to be the best in your conference,
Mhm.
and you knew that like this was your destination. We're going to be a 15 or 16 seed, and we're going to have to face someone tough. Like that's a lot of pressure. These guys weren't even thinking about that. They fired their coach. They were like, we're not doing anything. Let's get rid of right after the conference tournament. We're done. Oh, we won the conference tournament. Okay, and I think that's what makes them so dangerous is exactly what you said about Arizona, the true Jekyll and Hyde. What Arizona is going to show up here? The one that's going to lay 100 points on you and win by 30, or
Right,
the one that's barely going to scrape by and end up losing the game in the end? And that's why
right.
personally, I don't have any 1 or 2 seeds getting upset in my
Hmm.
bracket.
Hmm.
I do have quite a few 3, 4 upsets,
Sure.
but I don't have any 1, 2 upsets. If I had to pick one, that being
Hmm.
said, I think this is the best shot for a
Hmm.
15 upset would
Hmm.
be just because of the streakiness of Arizona.
I will recount one quick story, and that was Jim Larinaga when Jim was at George Mason, and they went into that tournament they ended up in the Final Four. And Jim's speech prior to the game was just like, "Look, guys, there's no respect here. We're not supposed to be here. I just want you to go have fun." And they went out and they knocked off. You know, I think they beat what? They beat UConn, Syracuse. I mean, they beat like a murderer's row of great basketball teams in their way getting to the Final Four. And the whole time it was just like, just go have fun. I mean, nobody. Again, we're not expected to be here. Um, just play loose. Arizona, the pressure's on. You're a 2 seed, man. You got to win. Long
They know
Beach
they
State.
underperformed
Hey,
this season. They
yeah,
didn't win their conference tournament.
yep.
The pressure's on them to perform. They've been
Hmm.
expected to be the Final Four. Hell, I had them winning the entire thing last year. So
Hmm.
the pressure is like no other,
Right.
really.
It's like a mountain is sitting on their chest. Yes. Hey, here's your Wagner team, 16 seed, taking on North Carolina. That's a 2:45 tip on CBS tomorrow. So Wagner in North Carolina. It's only happened once, 16 and a 1 seed. I don't think it's going to happen a second time.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
not.
don't
Not with
see
this one.
I don't see any of these 1 seeds getting kicked out, but
No.
we'll see.
I
Maybe
like your
North
chalk
Carolina's
though.
the one.
Yeah. I do like your chalk on the tournament. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Now, here's a team that we both have had trouble with all year. And it's not the number 10 seed. The number 10 seed, Nevada, taking on the number 7 seed, Dayton Flyers. That's a 4:30 tip tomorrow on TBS.
Yeah, this is again, another one where
Flip a coin. Yeah.
Dayton doesn't belong, I don't think, but I just
And a
think there was
7 seed as well.
yeah, I just think there was better teams from their conference. They finished third in the regular season of the conference. They lost on the same day as the 2 teams that finished ahead of them. I don't know. I just don't love this Dayton team. I think they're
No?
overrated.
Well, there you go. All right. Just so you know, folks, the venues for tomorrow's games, Spectrum in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's the South region. Central region is in Omaha at the Shy Health Center. PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh will be also part of the South region, and the Delta Center in Salt Lake City is part of the West region. So there you go. That's some of your. By the way, in a totally unrelated situation, the parking lot for the PPG Arena in Pittsburgh is on the campus of Duquesne University. So there you go. That's how close Duquesne is to the PPG Center. They're not playing there, but if they did, that would be a fun thing for them. So there you go. That's our games for tomorrow. Um, what do we got on the docket for you on your stuff that we should be paying attention to in our show box below?
Yeah, make sure you check out my premium picks at bigal.com, pickadvisor.com, and the insidersroom.com. The links are in the description below. Coming off a 3-2 day, went 2-2 in college basketball, but we're going to bounce back today. There was a lot of games yesterday I didn't give out that won, and I'm kicking myself for. So
Yeah,
today I'm firing away. I
there
got
you go.
5 college basketball games
There
that
you go.
you can go get. Or sorry, no, six. 4 of them are in the NIT. I got 2 in these first 4 games as well, and I also have a soccer play that you can get in Argentina. We are in an international break right now for
Mhm.
soccer, so not many major leagues going, but Argentina is still playing right now, and I cashed my play yesterday in Argentina on the pitch, and I've cashed my last 4 straight. So it's my only soccer action on the pitch tonight. But make sure you go check that out as well.
There you go. And by all means, even when we're not here, okay, bookmark Amadeus's setup so that you can constantly check back and forth because, you know, things are going to change and Amadeus puts stuff up all day. So, you know, don't, don't think you have to do it at 2 o'clock every day or 2 to 3. Keep checking back and forth all day long. It will be, you'll be better off for it, as the old saying goes. All right. Not much else in the way of things to say. By the way, for those of you charting where does Blake Snell go, he is going to pitch for the San Francisco Giants. So there you go. Giants, might
Nice little move
surprisingly
upstate.
be. Yeah, he just went up the coast a bit. Keeping the same color jerseys. No, he goes orange and black, not the brown and black that they have for the Padres. But anyway, all right. So that's where Blake is. I know that Rye Cape was looking for him. Tell him that he can forward his mail to the San Francisco Giants. That'll be where he can get him. So that's it, boys and girls. I don't think there's too much more to talk about today. I'll do a quick headline check just to make sure we haven't missed anything. But it's been a kind of a crazy week with all of the stuff that's going on. There's the free agency. There wasn't really much on the list today, and Sonny, the Padres in the season opener, Caitlin Clark earning a historic first, probably one of the more interesting characters in college basketball is the head coach of UConn, and that's Dan Hurley. Comes from a very big basketball family, and we'll talk about Dan tomorrow. Also, remember that today is the pro days for a number of college football players: Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr., J.J. McCarthy, all have pro days today. So we'll probably hear from what was going on at those pro days and who looked good and who didn't. So anyway, those are things we'll check on tomorrow. But for today, we've had a lot of fun. We appreciate you being with us. And for Amadeus, I'm Jim. We'll see you tomorrow around 2ish. Okay? Take care, everybody.